Hello, everybody, in what is one of the most exciting days of the summer window. Wycombe Wanderers have announced who they are releasing and who they will be keeping for the next season. Personally, I always thought this was going to be a big year for us. It was going to very clearly be a transition year. We have a lot of players who were Ainsworth players, good Ainsworth players, but now we've got a new manager and we've got additional funds. So I'm hoping that we're going to see somewhat of an overhaul of the team this year. So I've got the retained list of players up, players who are under contract, players who talks are ongoing with, and players who are leaving at the end. And I'm just going to give my overall thoughts on each player, but also talk about what I think this means for the club as a whole. So start with Max Striek. Absolutely delighted with that. So we thought this was a contract extension, but no, he signed a 2-year deal at the start of this year, which means he has a year left in his contract. I'm hoping desperately that we give him a renewal sometime during the season, so we're not waiting to the end to hear if he's leaving or not. I think if you look at the shot stopping stats, with Cooper being promoted and Trafford going back to Manchester City after his loan spell and probably going to the Championship, Max is realistically the best goalkeeper in League One now. And that's a massive thing for us. I think the only people who come close are David Stockdale, but he's, 38? Max is in his prime at 26, 27, so he's really exciting to have at the club. So, absolutely brilliant, we're keeping him. Jack Grimmer, same goes there. I was a skeptic of Jack Grimmer at the start of the year. I didn't think he necessarily was a brilliant player, but I have been proven wrong, and I'm delighted I've been proven wrong. And to have him extend for next season is fantastic. He can play right back. He can, I would argue, he's better as a centre back. He has been absolutely immense as a centre back. Whatever position he plays, we will need extra rotation. Whether he plays as a centre back, we'll need an additional right back, or whether he plays as a right back, we'll need an additional centre back. So he's useful to have as rotation, and I don't see a year in which he is not a really key player for us, to be perfectly honest with you. Joe Jacobson, he can also play left back and centre back, but he's going on to 37. I'm really happy he's staying. It's very clear he's a general. It's very clear he's a team leader, but I think he needs to have that same sort of transition that Matt Bloomfield had on the Ainsworth, where yes, he's contracted, but actually he's not really playing. He's there for the morale in the locker room. He's there to represent the players. He's perhaps even coaching, but he's not starting regularly, and that's one of the issues we've had this season. I don't think he's suitable towards being starting regularly. Even at Portsmouth, there was a missed block that led to their second goal. So I'm really happy he's staying with us, that he announced his extension. I'm really happy to have him as a captain, but I think no matter what, we need a new left back. I think we need somebody who can challenge Jordan Obita, but Obita is not confirmed to be staying yet. Chris Freno, immense, absolutely immense. He's somebody I could see being a future team leader. He's 22, and already he stepped up with some absolutely intense, immense performances, especially since Mawson retired. I said this on the Heroes of the HP12 podcast last night. He's my player of the season, personally. Because when Mawson retired, we need somebody to step up in that centre back. Tafazolli didn't do it convincingly for me. Chris did. I think Chris really stepped up and really cemented his place in this team. So I think he's somebody that we should look to rely on next season. His strength, his speed, but we can also pass the ball quite well, and that's something at a young age we can still train with him. Ryan Tafazolli, I thought he wouldn't be extending or wouldn't be staying. I honestly thought he was gone. It surprised me, to be perfectly honest with you. He looked like he wanted to move. Obviously, there's no reason he couldn't go on a transfer, say, but to have him at the club, at least in theory, for next season is actually really good to have. If we play 4 players at the back, it's debatable whether Bloomfield wants to play 3 at the back or 4 at the back. But if we stick with a 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1 we've been sort of playing, Tafazolli and Chris Freno make a very good, convincing partnership there. He's approaching the end of his prime, I'd say. 31, injuries have gotten a little bit the better of him this season. But when he does play and when his head's in it, I think he's absolutely immense. I think last season he was one of the best centre backs in League One. Don't think this season, because of injuries and his rhythm being disrupted, he's not reached that height. But if he can stay fit next season, that's a very good centre back partnership. David Wheeler, the Swiss Army man, look, he's essential to have in the team because he can just play anywhere and he will do it amazingly. He played right back, he played right wing back, he played centre mid, centre attacking mid, right wing, striker, and he put convincing performances in every single slot. I think he's a really, really important player to have. I don't necessarily think he should be starting next season, but those sort of squad players, when you're challenging for promotion, are absolutely vital. So to have him stay, brilliant. Sam Vokes, we already knew he was staying. I'm delighted with that. He seems to be on that path to becoming a leader like JJ is. Not had the best season this year. That's down to injuries, but also the way Bloomfield's changed his style of play. Ainsworth put a lot more balls into the air for him to win, and a lot more balls put into the box for crosses for him to win. And we're not seeing that. He was quite productive with Anish Mehmeti, who could dart in off the wing and play those through balls across the box. But since Mehmeti left, there's nobody really there servicing him. And I think centre attack in mid, or well, attack in general, somewhere we could look for somebody to be able to play Vokes in to really unlock him. He is going to be 34. I think I'd want to look for a striker. I know Cole Stockton blew hot and cold this season, had a purple patch towards the last 5 or so games on a free. I think he could emulate Vokes' style quite well. And a younger man, he could be our long-term transitional goal, but I think I'll talk about transfer targets in a separate video. Gareth McCleary, he's had longevity that I didn't expect out of him, to be perfectly honest with you. He is our highest player in terms of combined goals and assists. And I was quite surprised. For example, we did the top 5 players of the season, and Gareth wasn't mentioned, even though we've relied on him for goals and assists a lot of the season. So, fantastic to keep. I'm just wondering, do we have a long-term plan for the transition? We can't rely on Gareth forever. GMAC, I think he's turning 37. At what point do injuries catch up? Does he stop being the same dynamic dribbler that he was? At what point does he stop able to make the same runs that he can do? I'm looking for somebody maybe a bit younger to come in as an able backup, hopefully. First, the B teams, Jack Young. I really have no feelings about Jack Young, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm probably going to say this for all the B team players. There's a reason Ainsworth signed him, and there's a reason Bloomfield kept him. There's obviously something in him that's important enough for them to keep, but I also think this season is Jack Young's season to either shine or, well, I'm sorry, but we have to get rid of him. We've got, I'm looking through the list, 2 centre mids. Wheeler can play centre mid, and Josh Gowan is the centre mid. Young has to be looking at that as his major opportunity to break into the first team. You know, with the lack of centre midfielders, we probably won't bring in a lot. We'll probably bring in maybe 2. I can imagine us bringing maybe 2 transfers and 1 loan. But there's a major opportunity there for pre-season for him to really hit the ground running and make a claim like TJ has, like Mehmeti did, like Chris Frino has. So the opportunity's there. I want him to take it. Brandon Hanlon, I'm happy he's staying, but we need Hanlon. Very good at disrupting defenses. Very good at scaring the shite out of backlines. He reminds me of Timo Werner. Very very fast, very agile, can get past defenders with ease, but the end product's not there. And I think we're seeing actually a similar situation to how Timo Werner was used at Chelsea. Timo Werner, and by extension Brandon Hanlon, are not number 9s. They're not guys you play the ball to and they hold it up and bring other players into play. They're the guys who, I reckon, actually Brandon Hanlon would be better as that centre attacking mid, coming from deeper, going around Vokes or whoever else is in that striker role, coming from deep and being able to take on players without having the pressure to hold it up. I think there's more out of him that we could get if we use him in the right way. I don't think we're necessarily using him in the right way at present. I think he's also one that needs to really show his worth this season. He's one of the few that had a contract until the end of next year that we knew of, and he needs to show why we got him. He needs to. I'm happy to have him, but we need more out of him. Damani Mella. I actually really think Damani Mella can do well, you know. I was at one of the games, I think it was Burton. He came on, and his head looked a couple of seconds ahead of everybody else. He looked really good. He just needs to learn the tricks of the trade at this league. I think he went down to Rochdale, who, let's be real, Rochdale were not a good team. So I'm not necessarily surprised he didn't perform very well down there. But I think he's somebody that I think will be in the fringes of the first team, but I really hope to see take those chances. I think Bloomfield's new style, a bit more passing, a bit more intelligent, a bit more mental attribute rate based. I think Damani Mella can do well in that. I don't think it's a guarantee. I think he needs to work hard. I think he needs to definitely improve some of the aspects of his football, but I think he can definitely come into the first team in a year or so. Jason McCarthy. I still like Jason McCarthy. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't tend to like him. I know a lot of people are actually really, not upset, but disappointed he got a new contract. Why would we not stick with an absolutely brilliant servant who's barely injured and consistently puts in consistent performances? You know, there's a lot to be said for a lad who comes in, puts in a 6.9 out of 10 regularly. He doesn't do anything exceptional. And actually, I would be looking for a new right back, especially if we're playing with wing backs. He's not a wing back. He's not that guy. But having him at the club, I'm more than happy to have him at the club. So, yeah. Josh Scowen. What do you say about him that hasn't been said? Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Superb. Fantastic. Let's move on because it's Josh Scowen, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say anything new that everybody else on Twitter or everybody else on the podcast or anybody else in anything's going to say. He's just fantastic and have him stay. Good. TJ DeBar, I'm really, really excited about TJ DeBar. I think he's one that I think he's going to need to work on his consistency. I think he got 6 assists by the end of the season. 1 goal, 6 assists. That's better than Brandon Hanlon. Yeah, so I think he's going to be a bit like Mehmeti. Mehmeti for the first 2 seasons was a bit inconsistent, flashes of hot or cold. TJ's probably going to have that as well. I think we want to use him more as a shadow striker. In that role I suggest the Hanlon would be good at, behind Vokes. And I think he'll do that well. I think he will do that well. I'm looking forward to seeing him next season because, honestly, he looked a real bright spark, especially those days when it wasn't good on the Bloomfield. He looked a really good bright spark. So, he's earned a contract. Fair play to him. Jasper Pattenden, B-team player. I don't think he's going to come in and challenge or even be in the fringes of the first team, but I think there's something there. Lem Cook. Same with Luca Woodhouse. I'm going to do Jasper Pattenden, Luca Woodhouse, Macaulay and Skura. I know very, very little about them. I can't tell you with any sort of intelligence that they're really good at something. But they've been kept for a reason. Let's see them do well, shall we? And Christy Ward is one I know a little bit more about. He came on towards the end of the season a few times and he looked promising. But I believe this could all be hearsay. I heard somebody say, Matt Bloomfield said, he's better than Mehmeti when Mehmeti first joined. This could all be made up. But I think there's something there with him. Do I think he's going to be challenging for the first team? I don't know. Maybe he has a really good preseason. But I'm really excited about Christy Ward and I'm hoping he does really well. Talks are ongoing with Dominic Gape. Solid. I would be happy to keep Gape. He's been less injury prone than somebody else who's left the club. I'll get to him later. I actually made a video about him yesterday. He was the first to announce officially that he was leaving. I'm happy to keep Dominic. I think he's been a fantastic servant, and I think he's a better passer than Thompson. I think that's been the key difference. Thompson's a bit more like Scowen, where Gape, he's a bit more well-rounded. He can pass, he can play up and down, he can defend. So it makes sense to keep somebody with that value. Jack Wakely, I mean, it makes sense if we want to have a fringe centre back, especially if we're going to three back. We only have what? If you count Grimmer, three proper centre backs at the moment. Wakely, I think he can try and push for fringes this year. He had a very good game against Leicester in pre-season, and I think he did actually fairly well in the Pizza Cup. So I think there's a player there. We just need to coax out of him. But this season, more than any of the others, because he's now classified as a squad player, he's not in the under 21s get registered without needing to take a place. He's taking a place now. He has to show why we're going to offer him a new contract. He has to. Honestly, I'm hoping for a 1 year deal for Jack Wakely, because if he doesn't prove himself, I want to be able to say, okay, fair enough, you had your chance, goodbye. Obita, we look so much better with Obita. It reminds me a bit of Ben Chilwell and Chelsea. There's just something about him on the left. He makes the team play so much better. And I think he's a bit underappreciated, to be honest with you. He's one of my unsung heroes for the season, because we have looked worse without him. I do want somebody to back him up who isn't JJ. And I'm hoping we do go and get somebody like that, even a lone player. But those are the ones who are either under contract or talks are ongoing with. I'm going to take a quick drink, and then we'll talk about the players who are leaving the club, be it at the end of their contract or at the end of their loan spell. I'll do the two who left at the end of their loans. Ken Campbell. I like Ken. He was industrious. He worked hard, but he had something there. I don't think he's ready for the championship yet, but I don't necessarily know if he'll want to return to us. But solid player. I think he did well. I think he did actually quite well. Harvey Cartwright, he was unfortunate against Cheltenham, I think. At the end of the day, he was an emergency loan. It was revealed that he wasn't a planned loan. He was an emergency loan at the end of the window, so it makes a bit more sense. We all thought he was coming in the challenge. He was the backup. And I think he showed why he was the backup against Cheltenham. But I think there's something there. He's still young, and especially for goalkeepers, there's a lot of the time to improve. You're talking about outfield players, you want them to be showing their potential by 21, 22. Goalkeepers, they have a bit more time to develop and learn, so I think he'll come good. Maybe go to League 2 next season for me personally. Right. Players leaving the club at the end of their contract. Curtis Thompson. A lot of people are upset about this. Personally, he was too injury prone. He played something like 25 games out of the last 2 seasons. That's not good enough. We're going to have a little bit more money now because of the trust deal, but still, you're spending a fairly significant amount of money on somebody who's not able to play, and I'm sorry, but no. And he fulfilled a very similar role to Josh Gowan. So, if we reinvest the money wisely, I'm happy with it. Lewis Wing is disappointing, but I thought this was going to happen anyway. I had a little bit of hope after he ran up to the gaffer at Portsmouth and hugged him, but that was more of a swan song, a goodbye rather than a... But I had a little bit of hope, but I think we all knew this coming. Wycombe was a short-term place for him to get game time before he went back up, and he showed the quality why he did that. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get a fee for him, but not every player can stay for 4 or 5 years and become a cult hero, and Lewis Wing did very, very well in the 1.5 years he was here, so good luck to him. Tyler Dickinson. He had those 8 games at the start of the year, didn't do amazingly, but I'm a bit curious why he was released, especially now that we have no backup keeper. We don't even have a young keeper anymore, unless they've already scouted somebody. Good luck to him. Jordan Willis, honestly, I'm confused about. He looked good when he came in, and we need centre-backs, so I'm a bit confused about Jordan, unless his wages were quite egregious, which you could understand. He came from Sunderland, so the wages probably were higher than perhaps we are necessarily used to. If the club bring in some really good centre backs, this will look like solid business. If we don't, and we don't have any centre backs, this will be an absolute failure, Jordan Willis. Dowell Horgan, see ya. Goodbye. Irishman, love him to bits, but what? The best example I got for Horgan is it was Plymouth away. Did some beautiful running, made a lovely little dribble, made a pass to Hanlon and ran into Hanlon and tackled him. That just sort of summed up Horgan for me. There was potentials of some pretty good stuff in there, but he never really showed it. And apparently he was on quite a hefty wage. He came in the championship season, signed from Scotland, so it's not going to be a small wage. So getting him off the books is good. Nick Freeman. Oh, Nick is the one that I'm most upset about. I really like Nick. I thought because we had given him a new contract when he had that major injury, there would be a bit more, not necessarily loyalty, but goodwill. But I also understand he wanted regular game time. He's from Stevenage and they got promoted. They're probably willing to take him on free and give him regular game time, and you can't begrudge him that. I truly wish him the best. Then you've got Levers, Blunkill, Hagen, Kaneda, and Matt Shazzy, all beating players. The only one that I'm particularly interested about is Matt Shazzy. He looked really good, apparently. There was pre-season games and there was development games and there was even behind closed door games. His name was constantly coming up in the score sheet. There was obviously a difference between development games and League One football, but I'm just a bit surprised about that. The rest of them, the B team model dictates that you're going to bring in young players and not every one of them sticks. It's the harsh reality of life, sadly. For every Christopher Joseph who comes and relearns their love of the game, there's some guys who simply they're not at the level required, and that's sad. That is really sad. These are young lads with livelihoods who want to play the game they love. I think a lot of them will go down to the Vanarama, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of them back up in League One and League Two in a couple of years, but for now they're just not there. So it's been a difficult day for me, to be honest with you. This is a major overhaul. As I said, I thought this was coming, but it doesn't make it any easier, does it? And we're going under with a manager who has never had a transfer window, which is scary. With Ainsworth, we always knew that Ainsworth transfers, by and large, you had a stinker every once in a while. You had a Jakubiak or you had somebody like that, but we also got fantastic guys like Uche or Cachets or Thompson or Gape, or name the majority of the team we have at the moment. But I think it's going to be a real positive for us. We have the chance for a really, really solid rebuild. And as I said last night, we had a team that, to get playoff promotions, was punching above its weight. And let's be real, Wycombe's reputation in the game has increased over the past couple of years. People now see us as a genuine top League One club. Not saying we should fight, but they see us as a top half League One club. They also see us as a team that can get the best out of players who are either struggling from injuries or haven't been playing at bigger clubs. We did it with Sam Vokes, we did it with Uche, we did it with Max Striek, we did it with Lewis Wing. So we have the potential to get some good players, and players who maybe have been struggling for game time at bigger clubs who want to come a step down to get regular game time. That's really a really good factor for us to have in our favour. So I'm looking forward this summer. I'm looking forward to the yellow gift. I hope they please bring the yellow gift back, please. We all loved it. But I'm looking forward this summer. I'm looking forward to this team take shape and go from an Ainsworth team, Bloomfield inherited, to Bloomfield's team. Especially the way we played at Portsmouth. That could be really good. That could be really, really good. As always, let me know what you think. And otherwise, have a good day.